Having a clear strategy is an absolute must in a transfer window. It means you know where your money is going, when it is going there, and ultimately what you're coming out of the transfer window with. And whilst the Whites haven't made an official move quite yet, all of the whispers are pointing towards a very clear direction in terms of Leeds United's strategy. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about how Leeds United's transfer strategy seems to be getting clearer and clearer and clearer with every news story that keeps coming out. But first, I'm going to talk to you about the Leeds Creator Cup. It is on the 20th of July with all of your favourite Leeds United creators at the John Charles Centre for Sport. We will be playing a game of football, battling it out for the Leeds Creator Cup, and it'll be a fantastic day out. Make sure that you are there. It is £7 for adults, £3 for kids. And I'm really, really looking forward to that day, and I hope to see you there. As many people as can be there as possible would be fantastic. Anyway, let's get back to the main point of the video, starting with some of the clear mistakes of the past. After all, when you are making a strategy for the future, it would be a mistake to completely ignore everything that has happened previously, because if you do that, then all you're really doing is introducing more and more opportunities to make errors like we've made before. So first, I'm going to start with some of the things that we are very clearly not doing, the first of which is loan-to-buy stuff. So with the Manor Solomon deal, for example, the reason that Leeds United are very clearly in a conversation with Spurs right now to try and sign him is because we didn't sign a loan-to-buy contract. We didn't loan him thinking if we go up, we'll have to buy him, because we didn't know what sort of level of ability he would be. Same applies for Joe Rothwell, because last time we got promoted, we ended up having to sign Helder Costa permanently for, I think, £15 million, something like that, which was a vast sum of money for a fairly average player. And we won't have forgotten the John Kevin Augustin thing either, because he was, I would argue, the biggest footballing error of all time when it comes to transfers, considering he played about 40 minutes for us. We've managed to avoid these issues, which is a very, very good thing. And from what I can tell, in all of the stories that we're involved in at the moment, none of that screams loan to buy, which is nice, which is good, which is pointing us in the right direction. Then we need to talk about personality issues. In the past, some clubs have ended up signing players that it turns out they don't fit in with the vibe of the club. Daniel Farke and Parag Marathe have repeatedly said that it is important to have the right character of player in the squad. And that is something that I think we very clearly looked at last season, and we are very clearly looking at this season, because I think the season before, with the likes of Jed Spence, who seemed to not really enjoy being at the club, that will have affected everything behind the scenes. Because if you're going to a workplace and all someone else is doing is complaining about the work and their co-workers and their bosses and all that kind of stuff, you're not going to have a good time. And the same is going to apply at a football team. You can tell that that seems to have worked by what went on last season, where we didn't really have any behind-the-scenes drama going on. And even the likes of Laji Ramazani, who everyone was sort of like, Laji should be pushing for an exit here, ended up posting Bible verses that basically said, what I'm going through is nothing compared to the glories that we are about to get, which is fantastic. We've got players with good character, and I think we will continue to do that going into this window. On that note, let's talk about going forwards, because there's a few distinct little patterns that we see hopping up from time to time that are worthy of note. First up is the sort of attention to Premier League proven players. So I've got a couple of examples for this. First up, I would mention Soufal. Soufal being the right back at West Ham that is going out of contract in the coming days, I guess. He's got like a month and a bit on his contract, maybe. Vladimir Soufal is a fairly decent Premier League right back, can play on the inside, can play all over the place, and is a player that is looking to be moved on by West Ham. The question is, why would we look at him specifically, since he's not playing too much at West Ham? In my opinion, it's because he's got a vast amount of experience in the Premier League, and that is something that would be quite good to transplant into our squad, which is reasonably experienced. Sure, we've got a lot of appearances in all of our players, but there's a little bit more of a struggle for me when it comes to saying, and they've done it in the Premier League, because they haven't. I think our most Premier League player is probably Pascal Struijk, which is, again, a relatively young centre-back, which is a little bit spooky. In addition to that, you've got Beto as another example, someone who hasn't been there for too long, but has proven that he can do his thing there. A goal every other game in terms of goals per 90 is not bad at all. And is definitely something that we can look to take advantage of going forwards. And if we're signing players that we know have enough of a level to do it in the Premier League, then we're putting ourselves in the best place possible. In addition to that, it looks like we're taking a sort of hybrid system here with Premier League proven on one side and then having an eye on signing players with potential from all across Europe with the other. Good example would be Vladislav Vanat in Ukraine, currently playing for Dynamo Kyiv, and we are very heavily linked with him. £17 million release clause, scores a hell of a lot of goals, and is the sort of player that you sign and develops a little bit further in your squad. And maybe you're being used as a stepping stone. Who knows? Maybe he's there for the long term. It's hard to decide, but the idea is you sign these players because it gives you a very, very strong asset for the long term. Someone like a Sufal or a Suchek or a Beto, as they get older and towards the end of their contracts, because if you've got Sufal, you're giving him, 2, maybe 3 years of a contract. In that 2 or 3 years, you don't have a player left. But if you've signed someone young and promising like Vanat, or, for example, Lennon Miller from Motherwell, 18-year-old, very, very talented midfielder for 4 or 5 years, then even if things go wrong in the next 1 or 2 years and you get relegated again and you end up in the Championship, then either you have these players that are still here with a couple of years on their contract and can do a fantastic job for you, or you've got an excellent asset that you can sell to fund a rebuild, as we saw with the likes of Somerville, with Gray, with Rutter. Young, promising players can be ultimately the key to not only surviving now, but if the worst does happen, getting back to here. And ultimately, I think this adds up to financially sensible decision making. You're signing players that will command big wages, admittedly, from fellow Premier League clubs, but you are backing that up with signings that will hold their value for an extended period of time, which means that at the end of the day, you are banking finance for the long term, whilst not really having to trade off too much in terms of quality in the short term. Ultimately, does this strategy make sense? Do I think it'll work and keep us in the Premier League? For me, absolutely. I think we have a fairly strong squad already. I know a lot of people are saying 3 up, 3 down, and all that kind of stuff. I think there's individual reasons that the 3 that went up all came down. But I think following this recruitment strategy puts us in a better position than they were in. I think it not only does that for the squad, it does that for the finances, and it does that for the long-term planning. And I think regardless, if we follow this strategy, we'll be in the best possible position when it comes to the latter stages of next season. But as always, that is just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you haven't yet, that would be massively appreciated. If you could like and subscribe and all that stuff. Trying to see how high I can pop my subscribers whilst the window is open. On the date of the charity match, I will be donating as many pennies as I have subscribers to Prostate Cancer UK. So that would be massively appreciated if you could just, with one click, pop a penny into the pot and help deal with some fairly big issues in terms of men's health. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo.